Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I got most of my voice still. That's good because I have one more day left for C2E2. First, thanks everybody who has said hello and made me feel so appreciated at the show. So many people are coming up. They hear my voice or they see me and immediately, hey, John, love Word Balloon. Means the world to me. I can't thank you guys enough. And it truly, I get this affirmation at every convention I go to. And it truly, thank you. And man, I'm going to test that later this year when I go to Dublin. We'll see how the Irish take me in. And if I'm a favorite son or not. But anyway, today's podcast, I had the pleasure of once again moderating the Svengoolie podcast. We know Svengoolie, we love Svengoolie. 45 years, Rich Coase has entertained us as a horror monster host and as a public figure, certainly in Chicago, in those wilderness years between stations that appreciated what Rich brought as Svengoolie. He was still making public appearances, as he says in the conversation, but 45 years. There aren't many horror hosts that have gone that long. I really am hard-pressed. Perhaps Zachary has in New York, but I kind of think Rich is the man. And he's kind of humble about it, but, is also happy to point out, 45 years, man. And as I said in the conversation, the two bozos that Rich's career has also encompassed, and other great Chicago kids hosts like the great Bill Jackson, BJ, and his wonderful two shows, three shows, Cartoon Town, the BJ and Dirty Dragon Show, and Giggle Snort Hotel are all Chicago classics when it comes to kids' TV. And it's just great that Rich has been able to continue his career and really been this all-ages favorite. And I certainly saw it in the giant audience that we had at C2E2. The ages and the fact that men, women... God, there was a woman that was cosplaying as Rich, and I didn't even know it was a woman until she spoke up, and it was great. You'll hear it actually. You'll hear the joke in some of the Q&A with the audience. Had so much fun. I always do, and I can't thank Svengoolie and also his wonderful producer Jim Roach enough for trusting in me to moderate and gear the conversation the way that we did. A fantastic conversation with one of my very favorite Chicagoans, Rich Coase, Svengoolie, on today's Word Balloon. It's the nation's second longest running comic convention. It's Ithacon, April 27th and 28th at the campus center of Ithaca College. Tickets are just $20, $5 for kids 17 and under. Order tickets now at ithacon.org. Featured guests include the legendary Walt and Louise Simonson, DC comic vets Shelley and Philip Bond, Dean Haspiel, Mike Gold, the classic Spider-Man and Superman writer Roger Stern, Megaton Man's Dom Simpson, Star Trek's DS9 J.G. Hertzler, and many more. This year we'll have amazing comic publishers like Ahoy Comics, Dynamite, A Wave Blue World, and SHP. There'll be cosplay contests, panels, kids' activities, and more. Plus, Ithacon is offering swag bags for the first 200 attendees to buy tickets. These overstuffed swag bags offer over $30 value in comics, books, and more. It's Ithacon, April 27th and 28th at the campus center of Ithaca College. Order tickets now at ithacon.org. Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex is a good friend of the show, and I am honored that he aligns himself with Word Balloon, and good Lord, we all love his iconic art, whether it's for DC, Marvel, things like Monty Python, the Monkees, David Bowie, so many other great licensed things, the Beatles. If you go to AlexRossArt.com, you will find great value for your dollar, whether you can spring for something like original cover art or pages to lithos and posters, every price point you can imagine, you will find something and a beautiful image from AlexRossArt.com. Word Balloon is also presented by my listeners, the League of Word Balloon listeners. The help that I get via contributions from Patreon, patreon.com/wordballoon. You hear the entertainment that I provide from Word Balloon every day, that I do a new episode. I am very fortunate to have the great creators of comics and pop culture willing to come on and give you great entertainment. I hope you will consider making an actual cash contribution via Patreon, even $1 a month. But really, if Word Balloon is worth the price of a comic book a month to you, it would be greatly appreciated if you slide that extra money you would put on an issue of a comic book to Word Balloon via Patreon. Patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners.
So everybody, this is amazing, and it's always incredibly kind that our guest that we're about to talk to asked me to moderate his panels. But I've got an introduction. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a man who outruns The Walking Dead, who has electrified our brains and stolen our hearts more than any game of Operation, who puts 13 ghosts in every baker's dozen of donuts. Ladies and gentlemen, the Baron of Berwyn, Ridge Coast himself, Svengoolie. Good for you, man. I grabbed the floor. I don't want. Yeah, if you don't mind. There, you're right in the center.
I'm a lot off center, if you know what I mean.
Yes, indeed. 45 years, ladies and gentlemen, of being our favorite horror host. Unbelievable.
That's why it took me so long to get up here.
1979 is when the Son of Svengoolie started, but of course, you were working with Jerry G. Bishop before you took over the mantle.
Yeah, it was, just being in the right place at the right time. I was just a fan of his from his radio work and TV work, and he was reading jokes that people sent in, and I sent him some jokes, and then a little more developed type, skit type things, and he asked a little bit about what, who I was and what I was up to. And when he found out that I was a radio TV student, he said, well, why don't you come in and just, come to one of our tapings? And I did. And he started to ask for more specific things, like, you know that furniture commercial? Can you write me a parody of that? And, it was great. And I'd write him song parodies. And he ended up taking me under his wing. And we worked together there. Once the geniuses of Kaiser Broadcasting decided to end the show, and he was not happy then at WFLD, even with whatever was going on. And we ended up going to NBC, WMAQ, and I worked with him on radio. I was like, maybe 75% of the people he talked to on the phone, and different characters. And it was around that time that one of his friends that was at one of the TV stations said to him, you want to just do Svengoolie as a summer fill-in type thing just for fun? And Jerry at that time was thinking, no, I don't think I want to do that. And one of the reasons was, and I'm always amazed by this, he was worried that someday he might want to run for office locally, and he didn't want whoever his opponent was holding up pictures of him as Svengoolie and saying, is this the man you want to elect? But he was the one that said to me, you could do it. And I'm like, And it was cool. I mean, what a flattering thing that he felt I'd be able to handle it and do it. And he said, yeah, you can do it, and I'll help produce it, and we can write the stuff together and everything. That was great. And then nothing happened. We had some false starts on it, and that was about it. Time passes. We're both out of NBC. I've had quite the career of being fired. And it continued later at 32, but we'll talk about that later. And he was leaving town because he found this great job in San Diego, which sounds like a heck of a place because it's beautiful there, I understand. And he said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know. I'd been working with Dick Orkin, famous radio guy, And he had moved out to the West Coast. Now Jerry was going out there, and I said, well, maybe I'll try to, pitch somebody on a TV show. And he said, I tell you what, if you want to try doing the Son of Svengoolie thing we talked about, you have my blessing, go ahead. And that was what started the whole thing. It took a while to get it rolling, but we finally got it on the air at WFLD.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Tonight, Trilogy of Terror?
Why, yes. Thank you so much.
Karen Black classic?
Allow me to have the handful of people who are online going, this again?
Well, I wanted to ask about that, Rich, honestly, because there are staples like the Universal films, like Trilogy of Terror, that I think a lot of us monster movie freaks are like, you're damn right, you better show that again.
Sure.
So, yeah, we're kind of balanced.
Yeah, that's just it. They don't seem to understand, first of all, sometimes it's contractual, and we have a contract that says we have to run a movie a certain number of times. But mostly with something like this, it's because people are constantly requesting it. They want to see it. And add to that, the fact that it always gets great ratings. And, for every one of these, you go, oh, this again, you run it 15 times in the past 3 months. Because these people can count really well. But they don't understand that the fact, if you look like on Facebook and there's their comments, then there's 15 comments under it saying, I can't wait to see this, or I've never seen it before.
Yep.
So, we just have to put up with those people, smile politely and say, thank you, and swear at them under our breath.
Is it more fun to parody a tragically bad film than, say, Abbott and Costello Make Frankenstein, which is bulletproof? It's their best film. It's one of the best Universal monster movies because of the combination of everybody. But yeah, what's easier to write around and come up with this?
Well, yeah, obviously if you've seen some schlock movies, you realize there's so much to make fun of and so many things that you can pretty much, point out the errors and find things to play off, make up fake products that are things in the movie. A great example is, of course, the Killer Shrews. How can you miss with, dogs wearing masks and fur pieces? And there's and the fact that everybody in that movie is constantly drinking, constantly through the whole movie. So it offers a lot of possibilities. And with a good movie, there's stuff there too. Sure. But it's like you don't want to make as much fun of a really good movie. And when we do things about the classics, we're not ripping it apart. We're doing comedy stuff that plays off it. Sure. But isn't insulting to it, because we do have a real high regard for those movies.
Well, and also I've loved in the last, although maybe it's been many years, that you get very granular in terms of really talking about behind the scenes stuff. Like, oh my God, there's Neil Hamilton, everybody, Commissioner Gordon from the Batman show. And here he is 20 years earlier in a movie, in a supporting role.
Not to mention all of them that have been on Perry Mason. I was waiting for the music to hit. Yeah, and the thing is, people go, oh, you're such an expert, and that is not true. I do research on all this stuff. I'm certainly not an expert, but it's great to be able to delve into these things, and there's stuff online. I have a lot of books at home. Yeah, I still use books.
Attaboy.
And let's hear it for print. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it opens a lot of doors on, the behind-the-scenes stuff in the movies, and learning little bits and pieces about how the movie was put together. And a lot of times it'll show you why certain things are done that way in the movie, that you might think, well, why are they doing that? And why does this happen? And a lot of times it'll be anything from budget stuff to just a director not liking one of the actors.
I got to ask regarding directors. I mean, Roger Corman is in a class by himself.
Sure.
But, again, watching great horror films over there, and not so great horror films, all right, who is superior, William Castle or Burt I. Gordon? Those are two names if you really pay attention to credits, everybody. Colossal Man, isn't that Bird-Eye Gordon?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay.
You know how you can tell? Because anything with overly large people or monsters or whatever, you go by his initials, Bird-Eye Gordon, B-I-G. And that's kind of, you know, tips you off to the fact that, okay.
They did the 60s with Bo Bridges and Ronnie Howard.
Oh my God.
I love that movie. I love it. It's horrible, but I love that movie.
Valley of the Giants?
Village of the Giants.
Village of the Giants, yes.
The Joy Harmon.
The Valley of the Giants was the Green Giant, and we don't go with that.
Joy Harmon from Cool Hand Luke, the infamous car washing scene. She's one of the Giants. It's like, wow. So,
and I think, what's her name? Ann Southern's daughter, Tisha Sterling, is she in that? And I had a crush on her. Always.
See?
But it's funny. See, you like him for different reasons. I like the fact that William Castle is, you know, a show in himself. He's like the sideshow Barker who shows up in every one of the movies, kind of like a cut-rate Hitchcock. And, you know, there's a good feel to a lot of this stuff. And, you know, again, can you take them seriously? I don't know about that.
You guys remember Matinee? The John Goodman movie. That's kind of a fictionalized version of William Castle. And yeah, man, he was having a good time. And he's like, no, let's like give the movie theater going people an experience. And putting buzzers under their chairs when the Tingler, Vincent Price, the Tingler is in the auditorium.
And he'd come up with all sorts of names like, you know, Emergo. And things like, Emergo? And that was a skeleton flying from the screen on a wire, which in many theaters did not work. But yeah, I really have a fondness for his stuff. But the Bird-Eye Gordon stuff is great too. You know, I can't decide which is better. I'm sorry.
I understand. That's all right. It's kind of Elvis and the Beatles. I respect that. It's all right. No, great stuff. And well, Karen Black, I love those 70s was that a made-for-TV movie?
Yes, yeah,
That's
it was.
And really that decade, so many great horror movies were made for TV that scared the hell out of me when I was a little kid.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. And, I mean, the Kolchak movies were made for TV.
What a show.
Those are terrific. We love those.
Do you ever show those on? I mean, I know you guys.
Yes, we do. We have shown both the original Night Stalker and also the Night Strangler, which was the follow-up. And then after that, of course, it became the TV series. But we run that. There's one I'd love to get. I think it's called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And with, I think it's Kim Darby in it. And there's little creatures that come up through the fireplace that are not very nice. It's got a lot of scary stuff in it, and so many people remember that one. If we can ever get that one, I would love to show that.
And how many newer movies, compared to the standbys, do you think you do a year?
It's hard to say. It varies from year to year.
And it depends on the licensing deals.
Sure, contracts. It depends on our workload, quite honestly. You may have noticed that the show's been expanded to 2.5 hours
I wanted to ask,
now.
yes.
And that means we have to produce more stuff. Even when we do a rerun, we have to do another half hour of stuff to fill it out. So it's more work. It's almost like, as one of my coworkers said, it's like doing 52 new shows a year because we have to add additional stuff to it. So that takes up some of the production time. And very honestly, there's other things going on at the network and the TV station that require use of the studios, and you know, our time is kind of limited on a lot of that. So it all depends. You know, we try to get as many as we can done in a year, and it can be as few as maybe 10 or as many as 16. And I know that sounds like, well, that's not many, but that's as many episodes as a lot of current TV shows.
Sure.
So.
Well, and also the amount of writing around the films, because it isn't just, hey, how you doing? Here's Bird-Eye Gordon's, you know, Colossal Man, and see you later, you know, in the commercial breaks. I mean, all the parody songs, have parody songs become more difficult to write because as the owners of rights have gotten a lot more litigious, and I know from my radio experience, it was a lot easier in the 90s to do song parodies than it is now. Tell me about it.
Exactly, John. The thing is, you know, you guys probably noticed before, we used to do all sorts of popular songs and such, but as things have gone and people have become more litigious, And because our, people running our station would rather not be sued, we've gotten to the point where, for the most part, we just do public domain songs.
Wow.
And it can be classical songs, it can be old folk songs, or 1920s tunes.
That's true.
Yeah, because those have come under public domain.
Yeah.
And you're able to use them. We do occasionally have songs from some of the celebrities we know.
Oh, good.
One of our guys, the guy from Berwyn, what's his name?
Berwyn.
No.
Who was your...
Jim Peterick.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Jesus, Ides of March.
You win
and,
5 silver dollars.
Survivor.
Yeah. Jim Peterick has given us permission. Our friend Freddie Boom Boom Cannon is
Wow. Palisades Park, sure.
Gina Schock has given us the permission to do a go-go song.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of just making sure that, we've got all our bases covered and that we have something. We actually have to have them right. Yes, it's okay for you to do the song.
Sure.
But, it's a lot tougher. This past week, we were recording something for a future show. Shows you how stupid I am. I said, let's do part of the overture from Carmen. Now, do you realize how fast and how many notes are in that? And, I'm writing words that fill up the whole thing. And, we're ready to shoot it, and I'm like, what kind of idiot wrote this and thinks I'm going to pull it off? And amazingly, we did it in one take.
Wow.
I was blown away by
That's
that.
great, man. Yeah. How about now the introduction of the new sidekicks?
Yeah.
And I would think that both as new actors, part of the bit, that's got to put some new injections of creativity from your great group, you and Jim, and I don't know who else helps you write bits, but tell me about the new sidekicks.
Well, pretty much us writing the main stuff.
Okay.
These new folks, they wanted to have some additional characters to make my life easier. And don't laugh at that. And so these are the people that they came up with. One of them, you guys probably know from the Tune In With Me show, Bill Webb. He did radio. I used to do stuff with him on there. We had great back and forth chemistry. And he did this character that's like Nosferatu, but it's Nostalgia Ferratu, that he did on the morning cartoon show. And somebody suggested, you should go on Svengoolie. So I thought, sure, I love Bill, we do stuff together, it's very funny. He came on, we ad-libbed a bit, and it was hilarious. He's so good and so quick. So that does make my life easier, and we try to get him in, and he really is a favorite of a lot of people now. And again, the great thing is, I don't have to write an entire bit. We just can have a framework, and going back and forth, it's really nice. It works out well. And we have Scott Ryder, who plays Ignatius Malvolio Frankenstein, the imp. And he previously worked at the station on the kids show Green Screen Adventures. And he works at theater here in town, and he's very funny. And then we have Svengoolie, who we constantly get the gentleman going, oh, you should have her on more.
I wonder why.
She's terrific. She actually works at Universal Studios in Florida at the theme park.
Oh, wow.
And plays various characters there. She really is just lovely. She has long red hair, and she looks like a 40s or 50s pinup girl. And she's got a great sense of humor, and she's very funny. And, it's nice to have them on the show and to join us on this stuff. And every month now we try to figure out, okay, we can put her in this one, we can put the imp in that one, we'll have Bill do that one. And it helps to, kind of freshen up the show a little bit as well.
That's excellent. I think I told you Bill's character is like a cross between Nosferatu and Sammy Petrillo, who is the infamous Jerry Lewis imitator and stuff. And again, no disrespect to Bill. Bill's fantastic.
And no disrespect to Sammy Petrillo either, because he was
fantastic. Jerry Lewis. Watch, and this is a movie you guys should get. Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla,
or also known as The Boys from Brooklyn. And yes, we have shown it.
It's a poor man's Martin and Lewis Duke Mitchell was the singer, and I just found out, did you know, Duke Mitchell, who did the Dean Martin character, he's the voice of Fred Flintstone in that Flintstones episode where he's high-fi, he's got the glasses and the crew cut.
Oh, really?
And he listens in the bucket.
Oh, yeah.
That's Duke Mitchell.
Oh, that's
so now that's the second credit of Duke Mitchell's that I know beyond this horrible movie he made with Bela Lugosi. And Stanley Petrillo, he looks like and acts like Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. If you see these guys, it's like you pretty much know that Duke is not necessarily Dino.
Hey, I know it, probably.
Boy, Sammy Petrillo really nailed Jerry Lewis. And it's funny because I believe Dean Martin was fine with it. He thought, yeah, okay, go ahead. And Jerry Lewis did not like it. And I think he made some attempts to sue them. But
he also put Sammy Petrillo under contract basically to stop him performing.
I did not know that.
So yeah, you know, one of our dear friend Gilbert Gottfried's contributors to his podcast was writing a Sammy Petrillo book.
Oh, man.
You know, I mean, that's the thing, guys. And I don't know how much of you are old-time movie nerds like Rich and I assume you are because you love the show. But it is those nooks and crannies of show business that are fascinating. And that's why I'm so glad you get into the minutiae of the movies. And like I said, hey, there's Neil Hamilton. There's, I forget the guy's name who played Perry White on Superman.
Oh, that's John Hamilton.
Oh, there you go. Another Hamilton. No relation, I meant.
A lot of Hamiltons.
Exactly. Absolutely. Listen, first of all, the mics are there, everybody. I mean, Rich and I could go on, as you could tell, for the whole hour. But please, I hope you have questions. This is your chance. Thankfully, Rich and I talk all the time, and I bug him about, did you see that Gomer Pyle the other night? That was amazing. So, you know.
Golly, Sergeant, surprise.
Well, as I've said to you before, there's that weird Gomer Pyle episode where he comes back to Mayberry, and nobody's in town. And it's him, like, he goes to the courthouse, goes to the barbershop, nobody's there. And I'm like, man, you just put that old Twilight Zone music behind it, and you've got a Twilight. Where is everybody? I don't understand. It's fantastic. All right, great. People are lining up. Sir.
All right. I want to pay my biggest compliments for basically somebody that I grew up with, not only a Svengoolie, the Code Zone, and even which goes the Weatherman and
32. Yeah.
And also, I absolutely love the retrospective Svengoolie Unfriended. If when there's ever a follow-up 5 years, 10 years from now, definitely looking forward to it. But I also wanted to maybe get your thoughts, good or bad, pull no punches, spend everyone's feelings, on that blue period in the late 90s where the Svengoolie show was earlier in the day, and sometimes you were hosting horror movies, sometimes you were hosting erotic thrillers and heavily edited B-horror movies.
You were?
In my humble opinion, the sound effects that were woven in there made some of those movies even more palatable. But please give us your take on that.
Well, movies have overall become much more difficult to get than when I started. Back then, you would have distributors coming to you, knocking on the door, pounding on the door with, I've got this whole group, or package as they would call them, of films, and you guys do it. A lot of different distributors. These days, it's almost like you have to beg them. And a lot of the previous distributors have been bought out by others. And there were periods of time when it was really hard for us to get some of the movies. And we couldn't really get, at certain times, the Universal stuff. And we had a lot of the sort of, lesser direct-to-video almost type movies. And some of them, I wasn't too fond of them. I'll tell you the truth about that. And with those, I agree with you. I think putting sound effects in it actually improved them. But as we went on and we got better movies, I didn't want to really put the sound effects in that much because, there's people who really want to see the movie. And we'll do a lot of the sort of spin surround stuff, as we call it, outside the movie as a separate segment. And every so often, though, we just like to throw something in there. But we went through a period of time where there were all sorts of bizarre movies that we ran and stuff that I was still scratching my head about, We ran The Nurse.
Oh God,
You remember that?
70s?
Yeah.
Skyscraper.
Oh, yeah.
Sky with what? Pamela Anderson.
Anna Nicole Smith.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll run this. And did we have to edit it? Yes, we did.
I would imagine.
But there were a bunch of just really odd movies that we ran. And it was because that was what was available to us. It was the ones we could get.
Great questions, then.
One last quick question for you guys. But if you were given the option to do Stooge-a-Palooza for old time's sake, but at Svengoolie, would you have like Sven's top picks that would fill a 2.5 hour gap?
I suppose we could, yeah. I mean, you know, I don't see that happening, but there, you know, just like when we did Stooge-a-Palooza, the same thing. I would find the background on the thing and the actors and, you know, little mistakes in it, or, you know, things that were in the movie that were contributed by somebody else. You know, there's always material there.
And that made it even more special. Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. By the way, is your hat supposed to be Wolverine? Okay, just checking. Not Ben Vereen, but Wolverine.
Wolverine's son, Ben, of course. Yes.
First off, Sven, thank you for being here once again. And happy 45th anniversary.
Thank you.
Two questions. First, how much input do you have with tuning the beat? Do you have, how much input do you have in terms of what's aired, or what kind of shorts are shown?
I have none whatsoever. Yeah, I'm not involved in that. That's a whole separate production with different people working on it. So, as much as I like the cartoons, and I might suggest some, that's their department.
And would you ever think of doing anything animated on the show?
Say that again?
Like an animated film, an animated horror film, or some kind of strange sci-fi animation?
It depends. You know, if it was something that would work that we could get, sure, I'd be more than happy.
Or are you saying to like make original animation for the show?
No, like an animated film.
Oh, you are saying animated films. I beg your pardon.
An animated feature.
Yeah.
is what-
Right,
yeah.
an animated feature.
If we had one that would work, that was good enough to run, we would, sure.
Do you have any ideas of what could work?
Yeah, I'm trying to think too.
Oh, I don't know why offhand, but
Oh, that's good. Mad Monster Party. Yes, those
that,
Rankin and Bass.
sure.
Yeah.
With Boris Karloff and like
I need my
Phyllis
Hilton.
Diller.
Yes. Oh my God. Jeez.
Anything's possible, you know.
That would be great on the show, man.
Oh, you know.
Good Lord. That's a great suggestion, man. I love that. That's
People
funny.
have been clamoring for more Phyllis Diller on the show.
Did you have? I was gonna say if you had one more thing, because I was gonna. All right, I was gonna tie into your.
And again, happy 45th anniversary.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Before we get to the next person, I do want to mention. Speaking of animation, Sven has been, and it's great to talk about this at a comic convention. Has been immortalized twice in comic books. Once with DC. And it was Sven meeting the Justice League, which was
Right,
amazing.
yeah.
And then last year, and I'm sure you can still find it at stores, through Frank Miller Presents, a fantastic anthology of stories. And our good friends Art and Franco, who are in Artist Alley, were among the contributors. But two really great comic book adaptations of your shtickle.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun to do that. Of course, the Justice League, when I was a fan of those DC heroes from my childhood, and to be able to help contribute certain lines and certain plot devices in them, it was really cool. And then the fact that we could, you know, I'm meeting the Joker. Good Lord. And it was just a lot of fun to do that. And then this other one, which we kind of came up with out of whole cloth. It was an interesting thing to be able to just write a whole comic out of nowhere and come up with the characters and the plot again. And I probably shouldn't be talking out of school, but there might just be another one later this year.
Yay! Great to hear, man. Excellent. Sir.
Cool. I have been reading a lot of books about classic horror film history, like Universal Horrors, and I was wondering, what book would you recommend I read next? About that topic.
About Universal stuff?
About classic horror film history in general.
Well, the David Sklar books, do you know those?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, those are terrific. And you get a lot of insight from those. And also, he goes a little further than just, the plain old movie stuff. He gets into a lot of the psychology of them. And sadly, he passed away this year, I believe. And great stuff. So, yeah, check out his books.
Thank you, and happy 45th.
Thank you.
So, every year when we host this event like this, I've always come up with a question, and to the best of your ability, you've answered them, so thanks. Now, here's a question I'm sure you've probably answered maybe more than once or twice. I don't know, mainly because no one posts any of these online anymore. So, I remember some time ago I asked you how possible would it be to make your show run longer? And you summed up like, well, ATT has contractual obligations, so on and so forth. Now that we have a 2.5-hour block, how did that come about?
Well, basically, I think, first of all, our ratings have been so good, especially nationally. We've done really well. And we couldn't have done it without you people watching, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And it was decided by our top management. They said, how about if we expand it and make it, an additional half hour? That'll give you a little more time to do shtick. You can do a little longer mail segments since people love to see the stuff that they've sent in. And it was like, okay, let's do it. And we've been very pleased to see that the ratings hold up all the way through that last half hour. So it was, kind of a surprise to me when they said, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Well, congratulations to 45 years.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, I was just wondering, at what point in your career did you realize that people were really passionate about what you did? Did it start like pretty early on, or did it take some time?
Oh, it definitely took some time. It was kind of near the end of my WFLD run that I at least started to feel that. And then once we hit here at WCIU first, and as it went along, and we do appearances at places, you start to get the feeling that, wow, this is really something. And people would come up to me and say, they thank me for doing it, and talk about the fact that, it really meant a lot to them. And that was when I started to think, what we're doing is somewhat worthwhile. And I'm still amazed by the fact. I'm amazed we're on nationally, and there's nights when we beat the networks in the ratings, the big networks. And I always say it took a while. And I'm glad that we're at the point we are. I do wish it had happened when I was younger and had more energy and had better health. But at this point, I'll take it. I'm happy with it.
Well, we're very happy you're here.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Really, Rich, I am, and your predecessors better and their histories. Who's done it for 45 years? Anyone? Any of them?
Well, I don't know. Now, I have to say, I was not on the air as Svengoolie the full 45 years. There were some lapses there, but during that time, I was still doing radio appearances, TV appearances, different media appearances as Svengoolie because people were asking for it, or son of Svengoolie. And then after that, once we got rolling again, we were on there, and there are other people who claim that they've been on longer.
Zachary, I know, is maybe a guy that
I don't think he went as long though.
It's like Walter Payton versus other wide receivers and their rushing yards. Yeah. You're Walter Payton, man. And still going.
There's a couple people across the country that actually pay to put their show on the air, and it's like great. It's like an infomercial. But I don't know. I think we're probably pretty close to the top.
I would think so, man. No, that's awesome. And the way the show has evolved over the years too.
Sure.
Yeah. No, again, it's the effort you guys put into it every week. So, please, sir.
Happy 40th.
or 45th, rather. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
This question comes from my father, who just turned 80 last week. He was a huge Jerry G. Fisher fan. Every week he'll text my brother and I and talk about the movies and give us his thoughts on it. But the other thing he'll text us on is whenever he sees us signing anywhere on cable, the movie Svengoolie, he'll tell us it's coming on. And he keeps asking us, why doesn't Sven do this one? Why doesn't Sven do this one?
Well, we've seen it come up a few times. One of the problems is we haven't gotten a good enough print of it. That's happened a lot. Our folks at MeTV really want to have the best quality prints to run of some of these movies. And a lot of them have been redone digitally, and they've restored them to their original condition. And that is one that we might still do someday. It'll confuse people, because Svengoolie, Svengoolie, I don't know. But it is a possibility, certainly.
Great. Again, congratulations on your 45th.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
First of all, happy 45th.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you on your massive success on that. And I just want to say, I've been watching you forever. And
you must be awfully tired.
Never. My favorite episode that you ever did was when you aired Godzilla 1985. That was my favorite episode. My dad taped it for me a long time ago, so I always kind of go back to it every once in a while. I always I just felt like the comedy in that was so good. The way you kind of cut in, the music and everything was so good. And I love the song that you did in that segment.
Oh, man.
It was My Boyfriend's Back.
Yes. Godzilla's back. And in fact, you know how we always talk about Perry Mason at the beginning of it. He did the little narration type thing that the woman does on My Boyfriend's Back.
You've been away a long time.
Yes. You went away and now...
I just gotta say, I love that. I love watching that all the time. What is your favorite Godzilla movie?
That's a good question. I was going to ask you about the Godzilla movie.
Actually, the very first one. I think
sure.
It's so good. And the fact that, it takes it seriously. You do not have Godzilla doing pro wrestling moves. And just the very serious tone of it is just so impressive to me. I mean, I have fun watching the other ones, of course. But speaking of which, coming up soon, the immortal Destroy All Monsters.
Yay! You ready for that? Yay!
But yeah, I think the very first one really is so impressive. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen the original without Raymond Burr in it.
Yes.
And again, some people are like, oh, it's got closed captions, it's better. But it's a great movie. It really is well done. And, there was a serious story behind it with, a lot of, social importance to it.
That's on. Have you seen Godzilla -1 yet? The new
I
one?
have not.
It's eventually coming on streaming, and God bless them for keeping it in the theaters as long as they had, even a black and white version. And I'm with you on that original Japanese. With that in mind, there was that interesting Nosferatu that Klaus Kinski did 40 years ago. Have you guys ever shown the...
We have not shown it, no, but I do remember it. And it had a very unique feel to it. It was almost, the whole thing was a sort of muted, otherworldly type thing. Yeah. And I was very impressed by it. I thought it was a good movie. We have not even seen that offered by any distributors. So that happens with a lot of movies. As people buy them out and things like that, some of them just end up being shelved and are no longer in distribution. So
yeah,
it's a shame.
And Inspector Gadget.
Could you talk a little closer to the microphone and louder, because I cannot hear you.
We didn't expect your best Don Adams while you were
Well, here's the deal. Okay, sorry.
Hello, Penny.
I got a question to ask you.
Yes.
How long did you do Doug Graves from many times? Did you guys form a band together in many pasts? And I got a second question. I'm your biggest fan. And I have a lot of collections. But what is your most favorite horror movie that you ever knew in history?
Well, let me answer that one first. I don't have one specific favorite movie. I like movies for different reasons. If you were asking my top 5, it would be among the classic first Universal Monster ones. I'm a big fan of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've always thought that wasn't, some creature or monster from literature. They just created that, and it was such a unique story. And then you move on to further along to the 70s, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Friday the 13th. That's it. I don't have any one specific one. People always ask me that, and I'm terrible at answering it because that was just my answer. As far as Doug Graves, we were in a band together. In high school, we were in concert band and the jazz band at Maine East High School in Park Ridge.
Nice.
Doug played trumpet, I played trombone, which I haven't played in years. And we hung out together, did all sorts of stuff together as we went along, and he went to Triton College, and I went to Northwestern until they kicked me out because I couldn't afford it. But they were nice. They said, if you would, please stay in touch with us with a check every month. But he has worked on just about every show I've ever done, and that includes radio shows. He do tracks for me. He's always done the songs for my TV shows, and even for pilots that never went anywhere. But yeah, we've been good friends for a long time, and the great thing is, all I have to do is I will tell him, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this song. I have no lyrics for it yet. And I just tell him which parts of the song we're going to do. And then he makes the track, and then I write the lyrics for it. And when we first go into the studio, we usually will rehearse it once, and then we'll put it on tape. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, he's a great musician, as you can tell. And now, of course, Anita Exorcist, who's on there, that's his daughter, Natalie.
Really?
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I was going to be saying about that because I was like, that can't be Doug's daughter. I was like, I think it's Doug's daughter. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's very cool. She's I guess it runs in the family, the musical talent.
Yeah. I also got to do this one gift before I sit back with my father, which is Mario up there. I had found this on the ground, and I think they might keep this. This is some kind of a Joker card. I was like, what the heck is these cards doing on the ground? And somebody dropped them, and I was like, pick them up on the ground. I was like, so I was thinking if I could give these to you real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I also want to point out to Sven, if they don't know, that he doesn't know, there are several Sven cosplayers in the audience. Would the people dressed as Svengoolie stand up for a second? Because this is seriously, I want to so God forbid, should you ever need an entourage, kind of like Saddam Hussein, you got decoys that will take the gunshot, I think, for you.
I have to tell you, Dan, the funny thing is this started yesterday when we first got here. We were getting our credentials, and as I'm trying to get the lanyard thing to hook onto it, this guy comes by and goes, whoa, dude, that's a great cosplay. And then it's always, like 2 or 3 seconds after, they go, wait, that's him. And walking down the floor yesterday, and it's the same thing. Dude, that's awesome. And, wait a minute. So it's pretty funny that such things happen. But yes, I'm the real one. I should have a button that says, yes, I'm the real one. Why so serious?
Hi, I have a two-parter. I was wondering, what do you think of, well, to me, you're like a local public media icon. And I don't know if anyone else thinks that, but... I was wondering your thoughts of local public media in general, and also your sustainability in this time of social media and TikTok and that sort of thing. If you have any thoughts about that, and also maybe even from when you first started in public television was where you wanted to sort of kind of settle it, but it's been really appreciated, and I think it's very inspirational.
Thank you. The thing is with television now, there used to be a lot more entertainment type shows that were produced locally. And as they went along, now most stations will only put the money into news, sports, or public affairs. And they don't even have a budget to do, you know, comedy stuff or just variety show things. And I think that's sad, because there's a lot of people around with talent who would be great to be able to do that. I think that's one of the nice things in MeTV, that we have other types of shows being done, like the Tune In With Me show and our show. It's all money related, of course. You know, they'd rather spend the money, and it's easier too. Quite honestly, having a talk show, that doesn't cost as much as doing something with production, like our show, for example. So they've gotten away from that, and that's where you see a lot more of that type of thing online being done by people. And that's one good thing about the social media stuff. The other great thing about social media is the fact that you get more feedback right away. I mean, when you work in radio, you get it a little better just because people call you on the phone there. But now, with, you know, various outlets in the media, social media, you get a lot more feedback and different kinds of feedback. You also get a lot more ridiculous insults and ideas that people think are great that you go, yeah, okay, thank you.
You think of media people like Sven, and he survived 2 bozos. I mean, Ray Rayner. I mean,
it's not like they attacked me.
No, and Bill Jackson, who you've interviewed.
Oh my God.
The great BJ and Dirty Dragon. All these great local shows that I grew up with. I imagine a lot of you did as well. And, you know, again, here's the king of the mountain, man. Everyone else has retired or sadly passed away. But a lot of it is, like Rich says, budgets. And thank God, you know, Weigel understands the value of this kind of local entertainment. And now especially that it's national. And we've talked in previous conversations. Mark Hamill, Dan DiDio, the former publisher of DC Comics, Jerry Seinfeld. I remember Joel Hodgson, first time I interviewed you on video, it was behind the autograph section. And right before I started, Joel Hodgson of Mystery Science Theater 3000 is like, can I talk to Rich for a second? I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
And he shook your hand and he's like, I just want you to know, so many of my friends that are big stand-ups in LA, they all love you, man. Dana Gould, I mean, all these great comedians and stuff. Yeah. So that's got to have been great for the last 15 years.
It's a huge compliment. I'm always finding out about it. I just found out that voice guy Billy West, who did Futurama and Ren and Stimpy, that he's a fan of the show. It's pretty amazing to me. Bill Jackson, I mean, any of you who are familiar with him know what an incredible talent that man was. And, you know, as they bring him in sometimes with some of the other broadcasters who had retired to, like, the TV Academy events, and he'd always say to me, you're the last man standing. And I was very flattered that he felt that what I did was good, and he appreciated it. And, there was nobody like him. He was so talented.
I am a really big fan, and I'm nervous right now, so excuse me.
That's okay, I'm nervous too.
Yay! And nobody really wants to think about you retiring because you've been on the air for 45 years, but if you were to retire, who would you choose as a successor to keep the show going?
That's a good question. I mean, the fact is, first of all, and let's say it again since I have to post it every so often, I am not planning on retiring. What I've always said is, as long as I'm having a good time doing it, and it is work, but it is fun, and as long as I'm healthy enough to do it, I'll keep doing it. Now, eventually, who knows, maybe, you know, Nostalgia Ferratu might step up. Or I've always said that I think it would be a mistake to have somebody else be Svengoolie. Because you've seen how, like, for example, with Bozo, you know, there was Joey Dioria, but everybody's like, no, he's not as good as Bob Bell was.
Yeah.
And Elvira, they did a big TV series in which they were trying to find the next Elvira.
Oh my God.
They finally found someone, and they were going to use her for appearances and such. But because nobody would accept it, they didn't want her. They wanted the original Elvira. So my personal opinion is you're not going to put somebody else in a Svengoolie costume because, first of all, it will not be good for them, and it will be insulting to them, the reaction they're going to get. So, I think it'll be other characters. It won't be another Svengoolie clone.
Also, do you have an opening for a professional chicken chopper at the end of your show? Because that's a very good one.
As I like to say, get in line. We hear from hundreds of people who would like to do it. And very honestly, it's usually done by people on the staff or people who are working at the station. And the most dangerous time is when there are interns who are so excited about doing it that they will throw to kill. Thank you.
That's like, I don't know if you guys do, but a lot of the pies thrown in the Three Stooges shorts, it's Mo.
Yeah.
Because Mo had the best aim.
Yeah.
And they would say that they saved tons of money on production because Mo had good aim and everything. And
They used to call him Dead-Eye Mo because he had such good aim. The bad thing about it was, if they didn't have enough pies, they would actually scrape the stuff off the floor back into the pie tin. And sometimes, being a working set, there were nails and things. For real. So it was not the most safe thing, believe me.
Terrible. Best.
I just wanted to say, my name's Chris. I have two passions, Star Wars and horror. And that's all because of you.
No.
I have been watching you as son of Svengoolie since I was 4 years old. And I just wanted to share a little family memory. There was a 3D episode of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I remember
it was actually Revenge of the Creature.
Yes.
Yes.
My mom went to 6 7-Elevens to get me the damn 3D glasses.
Sure.
Can we do something like that again?
It's been brought up.
Yes.
We've talked about it. The problem is now being national, being able to make sure there's distribution of glasses to everybody is kind of a big undertaking. You'd have to have a national sponsor almost who would, end up having the glasses. Now, remember last time when we did the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Revenge of the Creature, of course. First of all, that was very difficult because people had to get behind their TV and do these adjustments when there were two different sides of the thing. And of course, you couldn't see what was going on when you were adjusting, so it's your family. And, Aunt Hazel is going, no, they don't match. And then back and forth trying to make it work. And it wasn't really successful just because there were a couple issues. One was supposedly the WFOD transmitter was not running up to speed that day and was not as strong as it could be. And secondly, there weren't as many 3D effects in that movie, so that kind of threw people as well. And the glasses were at, what was it, Dominic's or 7-Eleven or things like that. Yeah. And there was actually a group that filed a class action suit because we didn't see it. That was our 89 cents. And they eventually had to, Dominic's had to provide coupons or something for these people who filed that class action suit. So,
Jesus.
I want to say thank you for 45 years of wonderful work.
No, thank you.
House of Wax had some 3D in it too.
House of Wax was a 3D movie. Yes, the guy with the paddle ball.
Yes.
We all know that one.
Yes.
There's some great stuff in that.
Of course, again, Vincent Price and Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson, who does not speak.
Yes.
It's pretty good. It's a lot of fun to see that movie. I always loved it. We'd like to show that in 3D. If we can, who knows?
You didn't comment. I got my American International.
Well, that's very nice.
Thank you. Honestly, I look for that, and I look for Monogram. I look for all the Poverty Row movie studios, and they make T-shirts. And also RKO.
Oh,
I had to get RKO. Yeah. So, sorry.
First of all, congratulations on 45 years, and thank you for sharing some of those 45 years. It was fantastic discovering the show. And not only a question, but more of a thank you. Thank you for the years of entertainment. Thank you for the community. Thank you for introducing me to meeting some wonderful people, including my best friend who had later become my wife.
Which is pretty cool. It's like the Golden Bachelor. Crossed with the Mummy, I don't know. No, but congratulations to you guys.
That's great.
Really appreciate it.
Hilarious.
All right. Hey, Svengoolie. As a local born and raised Berwinite, I am curious as how you, two questions. One, how you got to saying Berwin like that, because thank you for letting people know our city exists in the first place. And then second of all, have you seen the movie Troll 2? And if so, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because I think it's fantastic.
Well, the whole Berwin thing has a kind of two different origins. The first one that I heard from Jerry was that it was during the time period when Rowan and Martin and Johnny Carson were on. They'd make small town jokes about beautiful downtown Burbank. And he thought what could be similar to Burbank, because there is a Burbank in Illinois, but he didn't want to use that, obviously, since it already was taken. And he thought of Berwin because every year they'd have the parade in honor of mushrooms, and their main drag at the time was mostly used car lots and savings and loans. And so he started it. The other thing, which I did not know until just a few years ago, was when Jerry was in Cleveland on the air. That was when Goulardi was on. And he would make jokes about a suburb called Parma. It was the same thing, Parma, and I think he adapted that as well. So as we went along, I just picked up the torch of the Berwin thing, and we continue with that. The nice thing is, Berwin has always been very nice to me. Most of the people appreciate it. There was one lady they interviewed once, and she said, "Oh, thank you, because you put us on the map." And there was just one short-term independent mayor who absolutely hated it. He was like, we don't want to be the butt of Svengoolie's jokes. And we were at a parade once, and one of his followers, who had maybe had a little too much to drink, said, "You know, the mayor doesn't like you." And I said, "Oh, good for him." I said, "I don't like him either." Oh, the Troll 2, I forgot, yeah. I have seen that. It's mind-boggling. It might be fun to do, but, I mean, so many people have seen it, and they're scratching their heads about it. And, yeah, some of it is just painful to watch. So that's the problem with some of the movies that are not A-list movies. And it's fun to watch parts of them, but for it to go on the whole time, like, for example, Robot Monster. Everybody knows that movie, yes. And it's like, some of it is just so dull, and then you don't want to sit through it. And yeah, he's got a diving helmet on a gorilla suit, and they have one of those old Mr. Bubble things working that puts bubbles in the air. Yeah, that's increasingly fine science fiction material. But, Lawrence Welk could have been part of the movie. But people know Lawrence Welk, right?
Turn off the bubble.
I know. I have to always say, just Google it like I do in the show. But here's a Papa and a sissy doing a dance to the songs of World War I.
Sad but true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're literally at the last couple of minutes. Do you mind getting these final fourth standing? Cool.
Gotta do it quick.
We can go a little long because the next panel's still for like a half hour. But we got to cut off the line though. So go ahead.
So this is a follow-up on the quantum question. Out of the three, Svengoolie, D&M, and Scott Raju, which one would you hope to take over the show?
I don't know yet, because they're all developing at this point. We'll see how, in the long run, how they do. I can't really say that one. I mean, I love working with Bill, but again, that's me working with him, and I enjoy working with the other two as well. But it remains to be seen, how they can do it, how they can sustain, because, I've always said, and, not them, but people always say, "Oh, I could do that." And it's like, okay, let's see you do it, not just once, but for a bunch of weeks.
Yep.
And, that's when the reality of the situation hits. So I'm anxious to see how they all manage to evolve as they go along. And they all have good points. They're all funny at times. And I think if you keep watching them, you'll see them learn more about how we do the show, and we'll be even better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi there. I was wondering if you could tell us what it's like working behind the scenes with Kerwin.
Kerwin.
All right. First of all, I don't know if you've noticed, but he kind of had a redo, sort of, not a spa treatment, but he's been updated a little bit, and it looks a little better. Not a facelift, or a feather lift, or beak lift. Kerwin is pretty much annoying, and the fact that he does not have much reverence for me certainly makes me mad. And all I can say is, when my finger gets tired, he's going to be shut up for good. Sure.
Hey, Joe Bob, how you doing? Or Joe Bob, that's part of my question. I have absolutely loved the interactions that you and Joe Bob have had together, whether it was you jumping out of the cave or the panel you guys did last year and the flashback. I was just wondering if there's any plans at all for you two to do anything in the future, because you guys are you're like peas in a pod. You hit it off great. It's amazing. Like, two of my favorite guys are, awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, and first of all, I was a fan of his for years and years. And one time, he and Darcy were in town for one of their appearances, and somebody from the station knew them, and they actually asked if they could come in and visit with us. We weren't shooting that day, but they came onto the set, and Joe Bob and I just, it was like talking to an old friend. We really, had so much in common and really enjoyed it. Getting to be on their show was great. I had so much fun. I was just very impressed by the fact that he had done so much research about me and knew so much about it. And doing that panel again last year was terrific. We've talked about, let's do some more stuff together. Nothing definite yet, but I would love to work with him again. He's also just an incredible writer.
Yes.
And I give him a lot of credit.
Yep. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, the final question.
Last. Sven, I just wanted to say thank you so much for 45 years of keeping classic monsters alive. It's amazing to see how little kids are discovering the Wolfman and the Creature from the Black Lagoon and all these classic horror movies that we all older people love. The kids are getting into it. There's little kids sitting here, today, and I just think what you're doing is just amazing. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
I always wondered if there was a film you tried to get, or if there was something, like some of the classic AIP stuff, like I Was a Teenage Werewolf and Invasion of the Saucer Man and Teenage Frankenstein. Have you ever tried to get those films?
Yes, and there's a story behind not being able to get them. One of the widows of the producer who had passed away has the rights to them. And that includes I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, I Was a Teenage Werewolf, the Saucermen. And the reason that she will not give out the rights to run them is because she didn't like what Mystery Science Theater did with them. I don't think she had much of a sense of humor, and clearly it's not. We've tried to pursue it, and so far, nothing yet. I'd love to run those, but no such luck so far. There's a lot of stuff that you just can't get, and for various reasons, as I said before. So we'll keep trying. I would love to have it. It would be great.
It's a lesser movie, but it's kind of the sequel to Teenage Frankenstein, How to Make a Monster.
Yeah, we have that one. Okay. That one is under her umbrella. There's like 5 or 6 titles that she has the ownership of. One is The Amazing Colossal Man. So we could run the sequel to that, but we could not run
War of the Colossal.
And, it'd be great. I'd love to have them, but I don't know. She just won't do it, so.
All right, before we say goodbye, couple things. Obviously, Sven is going to be in Autograph Valley still.
No, we're done.
No, you're done.
I'm leaving.
Are you really? Is this the last?
This is our last day here.
Okay.
And,
but
we've
tonight,
had a great time. Yeah.
But tonight, Trilogy of Terror.
And a live chat that people can, are you on the live chat talking about
on Twitter or X. There are people constantly writing, and on various websites, I guess there's all sorts of little chat rooms and stuff. I like the people who are always like, oh, I'm going to riff this, but I wish they would pay attention to the show too, which I don't think some of them do. It'd be nice if they would kind of, pay more attention to what we're doing on the program, but instead of trying to be a regular riot. So, all sorts of plays on our website. They're always under the blog. There are comments during the movie and such. So there's always people chiming in.
And the website for the merch, Svengoolie.com?
Well, the website for everything is Svengoolie.com.
Attaboy.
I have a store. Did you didn't know? Yes, darn right. No personal checks. And I just want to say, I've said this before, I wouldn't have made it this far without the support and friendship of all you people. It's amazing to me that we have reached the heights that we have. And people have believed in us. And they appreciate what we do. And that means everything to me. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Svengoolie, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Hey, now I can see it. Hey, you're Blue Collar. That was great.